Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today it is a beautiful day. It's in mid-June, and I live in Utah Zone 6/7. Now, it is midday. It's getting a little hot, but it's the only time of day I had to make this video. I'm doing Plants of the Week videos, and this year I'm focusing on herbs. And today I wanted to talk about rosemary. And the reason I wanted to talk about rosemary is because I am revamping my area that has rosemary in it. Now, if you live in Utah, you know that rosemary can be a little bit temperamental to grow here. There are a couple things you need to think about. Number one, it's a tender perennial. Most rosemaries are hardy to zone 7 or 8, but there is a rosemary that's hardy down to zone 6, and I've actually seen my rosemary, which is the same rosemary that I'm going to talk about, hit a zone 5 winter. Now, those rosemaries are the ARP rosemaries, A-R-P. ARP rosemary is a little hardier, but you do need to do a few things to make sure that it'll survive the winter for you. Let me show you my 15-year-old rosemary and talk a little bit about what has happened to it through the years and show you what I'm going to do to help it survive. So this is what is left of my 15-year-old rosemary. You can see the size of the trunk systems there, and I'm going to show you some pictures of what it looked like last year. Last year we had a massive die-off. So you can see what it looked like when it died off, and now I'm also going to show you what it looked like in the height of its glory. It spanned this entire area and wrapped around the other side of this blue spruce. Now, the reason this rosemary lasted so long, there's a few things that I think that I've done. Number one, it's in a protected area. It does not get hit by the cold winter winds with a direct hit. It is out in the open, but there is a fence on the other side over here that kind of buffers the north winds, so it doesn't get a direct hit. It also gets covered with snow. Usually this is open enough that over the winter it gets covered in snow, and that's a good insulator for when it gets really, really cold. And in the years where it does not get enough water during the winter, there are winters where we really do not get any precipitation. I do make sure to come out and water this. The things that rosemaries cannot tolerate are wet, heavy soil, and they cannot withstand dry winters. They're from the Mediterranean. In the Mediterranean, they have dry summers and wet winters, but not the heavy, wet, cold soil that we can get here. So this is on a slope. It's got a really, really good drainage. And so I think that's why this has lasted 15 years. Now, another thing that I did is the original area that I planted this rosemary, before this globe blue spruce got so big, is way under here. And it was a huge trunk by the time I dug it out. But the original trunk was over there. And then what I would do is I would bury stems along the ground and let them root. So this is a rooted stem from the original trunk. Now, I tried over the winter to do the same thing, but the stems are just too big, heavy, and old right now to be able to do that easily and root it in the areas that I want to. So I decided to try my hand at propagation. So here's a little video of what I did this spring to propagate my rosemary. And actually all of my cuttings ended up succeeding. So what I'm doing now is I've already planted one cutting earlier this year, and I'm going to plant another cutting right here and just let them grow all together. And that'll be the same kind of thing as burying the stems. So here's my little cutting. Now, I have tried starting cuttings in the fall and in the winter because rosemary is evergreen, but that just has not ever worked. Spring, early spring, I did these in February, is when it works the best. So let's get this planted and show you what it looks like. Now, like I said, when choosing a spot to plant your rosemary, make sure that it's well draining, that it's in a semi-protected spot, protected from the cold winter winds, and in an area where it's not going to get too much water. Rosemary does not like a lot of water. I'll come through and hand water this rosemary plant right here once every week or two. This irrigation line also goes off once every week or two, and it's on a steep slope, so the water just really runs away from it. So it doesn't need a ton of water. If the only area you have to plant rosemary is kind of a heavy, wet area, try building it up and see if you can get some better drainage. So I'm just going to dig a little hole here. My soil is kind of heavy clay, but it does have some sand in it also. Right now this area is really dry. We haven't had rain in quite a while. Now I'm going to try and build a little well because for the first few months I am going to need to come through and hand water this pretty well. And assuming that these survive the winter, these two little new rosemaries, assuming they survive the winter, which I don't see why they won't, I think next year I'll be able to water them the same amount as I water the mature rosemary. So we're going to pull this out of the pot, see what the roots look like. The roots look really, really good. I don't know if you could see that. Don't even need to tease them. We're going to add them in here. Make sure we have a little well so that the water can stay in here. And then we're going to very, very carefully water this. Just water it little by little so that the water doesn't run all the way down the hill and wash away the dirt. Because this is kind of a difficult area to water a plant. But this is where the rosemary seems to survive really well. It's in the shade right now, but by midday, this is almost midday. By midday, it's going to get, and through the end of the day, it's going to get full sun. So there we go. New little rosemaries are planted. Hopefully they're going to fill out this entire area again because I love how they look. They are absolutely gorgeous. Now, another way you can grow rosemary in cold climates is in pots. But I would love to hear if you live in a cold climate and if you've been growing rosemary and if you have any tips or tricks for everybody who wants to do this. And I'd love to hear any of your success stories. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.